Autobiographical notes. This paper marks the end of a journey for myself. Many lifetimes I've been sitting now in the classrooms of planet Earth, and even though there were many different classes available, I had subscribed myself wholeheartedly into the ones circulating around the hot topics of humanity. Fear, drama, pain, and of course, one of the real popular ones, suffering. I had honestly believed that suffering was the pathway of enlightenment for the real tough ones, and the gruesome experiences that I've made were the only way how I could learn my lessons. If something looked like it was fun or could be acquired or achieved easily, it couldn't be for me, since life had to be serious and I had to work hard to earn my right to exist in this world. Accepting life as a gift in itself was the antidote to my achievement compulsions. The local Western drama of you are what you achieve, which can then be measured against what others achieve and have, used to feature quite prominently within the programs unconsciously running havoc in my system. Abuse is the result of self-hate and can take on many forms. Abuse rejects to see and to experience parts of oneself which are being perceived as unacceptable. One of my #1 demons was my fear from things that I perceived to be uncontrollable, which was generally everything that was alive, but emotions in specific which seemed to be particularly uncontrollable. I had no trust, neither in myself nor life itself. My understanding of who I am was informed through an unchecked materialistic value system covering its lost connections and fear-based presumptions with pretensions of realism and rationalism. I was in a constant state of denial, maintaining a superficially confident facade on the outside while feeling completely torn apart from highly conflicting, non-integrated and seemingly opposing forces on the inside. I hated being a woman. I hated men for their primate alpha male take on this planet. I hated the system for its unfairness and cold calculating distribution of wealth that I measured just as the most of us in terms of having material wealth or lacking it. I hated being here on planet Earth, since the way the human collective was organized was outrageously unintelligent, but mostly I hated myself for being so powerless. My rage, masking my underlying hopelessness and self-hate, found numerous avenues. After all, we are systematically trained to look away from the real causes for our suffering and are being offered billions of ways to destructively download our own shit into the world at large. I became a fighter, an intellectual alien. The Amazon warrior heroine was particularly popular in terms of costumes for my ego. Wasting all my energy in resistance, shooting with bombs on little pigeons. I had no clue that the world out there was a mere reflection of what I was secretly believing about myself. That the multiverse was simply answering to my underlying signals of fear, rage and despair. I had no clue that I was indeed strengthening what I was fighting by giving all my attention to it. With no creative avenues to transform my hidden programs of unworthiness, I ended up going on a bulimic journey for many years. Seeking shelter in the realms of the mind was providing only temporary relief, since I could never fully get away from my repressed underground emotions, talking to me in the form of panic attacks that accompanied most of my life. It has been a conscious decision to integrate these autobiographic notes into an academic research paper, since the objectivity claims of the emotionally defective and spiritually dyslexic quackademics has been part of the damage control that I had enforced on myself, all being part of the madness indoctrination with which I had shunned my creative forces underground. The godmother of live performance, Marina Abramovich, once said, "The deeper I'm digging into myself, the more universal I'm coming out on the other end." This is exactly the experience I'm having since I finally gave in and went on an ongoing conscious exploration of my soul. Having my emotions now working for me rather than against me has not just enabled me to discover that right behind my greatest fears are actually my greatest gifts, but it's also serving me as a much needed discernment device when it comes to detect the bullshit we are bombarded with 24/7. I have come to understand how little I know, while at the same time realizing how much I know if I start trusting my own wisdom. I had to consciously choose to love myself despite mainstream attempts to streamline us all further into manipulated self-hate. Once I could see that underneath all my raging rebellion was a very deep despair and profound self-loathing, I started to see that my underlying beliefs were literally shaping my realities into existence. Understanding that I do create my realities through my thoughts and intentions provided a fantastic tool to start mastering my fears rather than being controlled by them. I realized that all we have to do quite literally is to dig up our deepest fears, understanding them without judging them, so we can start extracting the golden treasures that lie right underneath the surface of what may look like shit. It is only through the integration of the different aspects of myself that I could literally start feeling my intrinsic connection with all of life. As a child, I knew, as most children do, that I am a galactic traveler. I had my friends in the spirit world and would talk to trees and animals like they are my body. And as Bucky Fuller once put it, all children are born geniuses until society starts de-geniuses them. So as time went by and the trauma of conditioned life started to write itself all over my soul, I started to close down these interdimensional doorways. During those years of sleepwalking, I was dismissing the reminders of our divine heritage out of a massive fear of the judgment of other people. Emotions, I came to realize later, are the language of our souls, and negating them in the way I did, quite compulsively in alignment with the general brainwashing that has been deliberately associated with the capacities of our emotional bodies, had kept the gates firmly closed, both to the love of who I am and the love of creation itself. This paper is the third version of my dissertation and took quite some time to be birthed. I wanted to give a platform for all the incredible inspirers and teachers that I've come across within my 37 years of living on this planet, while at the same time pouring my own voice into it rather than hiding behind respected authorities and important sounding words that are not fueled from my own experience. Because in the end, there's nothing else but your own experience. Everything else is programming. Pumpkin! Don't fall! Look! Hello! Say goodbye to the camera. Goodbye, people! And do remember that there's nothing else but your own experience. Everything else is programming.